sound go away?
It does go away when you're muted, so don't stress. Yep. Welcome back together. We're going to jump in right where we left off last week. We'll review some of that and then jump in to it. Let me get our blues up for us. Actually, you know what? Let's just go ahead. Let's warm up, actually. Let's warm up with the song before we play blues. Let's start with... let's do our Nigun. We haven't done our Nigun in 4/4 time. Where's my button for this?
I'm hoping we can do Johnny Be Good sometime, too.
We will do Johnny Be Good. Okay. So, we're going to play our Nigun in 4/4 time. This is our 4/4 Nigun. We've also got a 3/4 Nigun. Remember, the 4/4 means that we are counting to 4. So go ahead and let's just go through our chords. We've got our D minor chord here. We have our C. We have our F chord. We have our G minor chord. D7 chord? Where's a D7 come in here? I don't see a D7. We've got it listed here, but I don't know why that is. Because I don't see it actually in our song, so I think we're okay. If we do need it, I will move myself again. Okay, so let's jump in. You can hear me okay, yeah? I'm using a different microphone today. Okay, so we're just going to do single strums as we get started. So here we go. 2, 3, 4. Yai dai yai dai C dai 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 back to D minor. Yai dai yai dai C dai 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 dai. Now F. Yai dai yai dai yai dai 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 back to F. Yai dai yai dai G minor. Yai dai yai 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 D minor. Ya da 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 C. D minor. Now B flat. Here we go. Ya da da ya da C. D minor. And we don't have the B flat chord listed there. Do you want me to pull that in there? Are we familiar enough with it? Put it in there. Let me just drop it in real quick then. Hold on. Let's find. There's a B flat. We'll put them in the order that we actually play them in. So we got a D minor and a C, and then we've got an F and a G minor, and we've got that B flat.
Yes. Oh.
Okay, let's try that again now that we got that B flat. Okay, now I'm going to do all down strums. One strum for each beat. Here we go. 3, 4, just 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we go now. Yai dai C. Yai dai. Back to D minor. Yai dai C. Yai dai. Here's F. G minor, yai dai 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 dai. Back to F. Yai dai dai. G minor, yai dai yai. D minor, ya da dai dai dai. C, yai da D minor. Here comes our B flat. Ya da B flat to C, D minor. Okay, stay on that D minor. Now let's get into a little more advanced rhythm. Find a groove that works for you. You don't have to do my exact rhythm. If you're having trouble finding it, let's work through it. Here we go. So it's down up 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 down up. And then you don't have to play each of them if you don't want to. But keep your wrist moving that fast. Here we go. D minor, D
strum last week?
We didn't even play that last week.
Oh, okay. Can you teach us what you were doing with the strum?
Absolutely. Okay, here's what I'm doing with the strum. Well, first, let's just check in. Other than the strum, how did that feel for folks? Pretty okay?
I love it. And I like how you go from the strum down, down, down into the other strum. Great.
Yeah, and you can switch that up as you go. Absolutely. Okay, so let's work on the strum. So just go ahead and play a D minor chord. Just leave it there. We'll stay on a D minor. So let's first go through our various strums. Oh, excuse me. I'm like 3 cups of coffee short of where I need to be, I think. Okay, we're going to start just with our downs. Down, down, 3, 4, 1, 2. Count with me. Say it out loud. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, keep doing that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add in the ups. We're going to stay at the same spot, same speed. So when we're saying it, we're going to say 1 and 2 and 3. When we say a number, we're going down, and when we say an and, we're going up. So here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and... Okay. So now we're going to double that speed. Look. And when we double, the way that we count is instead of 1 and, it's 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. So I haven't doubled my hand yet, but here we go. I'm going to double my speed. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a... Okay, now you hear when I say the number, I'm playing it louder. Do you hear that? 2, 3, 4, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a... Practice that. 2 E and a 3 E and... Where you play a little harder on the number count. 3 and a... Hey, Patty, welcome back. We missed ya. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a... And then send that counting somewhere else. Don't keep it in your head. Put it in your body. You can see that I can't help myself. I'm like rocking back and forth on my chair. Put it into your toe. Put it into your arm. Whatever, if you want to sort of bounce it. But let somewhere else in your body other than your head count. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Here we go. D minor, C, 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 C. D minor, C, 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 C. F, G minor. F, G minor, D minor to C, D minor, B flat to C, D minor. One more time, here we go. C, D minor. F, G minor. F, G minor. D minor to C, D minor. B flat and to C and on D minor.
So, Danny, what do that D minor, C, D minor at the end? Is it just one triplet for each one of those?
Yes, exactly. The rhythm changes on the... So there's really... Let me pull this up one more time. So, and let's talk about theory of nigun for a moment. I gotta do it this way, sorry. Okay, so when we're dealing with a nigun, the most classical form of a nigun has 3 parts to it, actually. And we have that going on here. Part 1, part 2, and then part 3. Okay, so part 1 and part 2 are each repeated twice. All right, let's do it like that so you can really see that it's repeated twice. That makes it just a little clearer, I think, that they're basically the same thing. I don't know why it's not letting me make these look identical. Let's just do it this way. There we go. Okay, so we really get the sense of all 3 now, right? We've got part 1, D minor, C, 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 and that repeats D minor, C, 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 C. Here's part 2, F, F, G minor, F, F, G minor. And part 3 is both changes the rhythm, and instead of having an identical repetition, it has a slightly changed repetition, right? The B flat subs in for that D minor there. So then we get D minor, C, D minor, then B flat, C, D minor. Does that make sense?
Yes.
What's happening in the part 1?
So part 1, where'd you go? So part 1 is D.
Repeat the chord twice there too.
Yeah, right. So D minor, C, 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 and now we got the second line of part 1, which is identical. D minor.
It seemed to me like you were just continuing doing those triplets, the C, 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 C. But when you do that, it sounds like you're just doing a strike. C, 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 C.
Yeah, so we got D minor, C, 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 C. D minor, C, 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 C. Part 2 is very similar. F, F, G minor, and again, F, F, G minor. Part 3 changes. D minor, C, D minor, and B flat, and C, and D minor. So, right, part 3 changes it up.
Okay.
And in that way, this is a very classical nigun, in that it has 3 parts.
Triplets in part 2. Each chord is done twice, and then in the third part, you're just doing a strike. The strike.
Exactly. And you can still play more than just the strike if you want, right? You can go yada da da yada da 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 but you can also just do that strike, and that's really stylistic, right? And you can switch that up, and exactly. Nice observations. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. Let's do what we did last week and go over it. We actually did a lot, I think, last week. Added in a lot of texture, which is what we're going to do again. Where'd you go? This is the one we're going to do. And
was it archived?
It is archived. Okay, what we focused on last week was thinking of 7th chords and suspended chords as being flavors or colors for us. And not just playing what's written, but whenever we see a C, knowing that we can play a C, and we can also try out a C7. And if we see a G, we can play a G or a G7, or we can play with those suspensions. So So let's just go over each of these for a second. I think that will be helpful. One more time. So we have... I thought I wrote down those sevens on a chart somewhere. Let's find them. Well, we'll just start with the sevens. Okay, so go ahead and play your C, just a regular C chord, not a C7. Play a regular C. And then switch from the C to the C7, which moves to the index finger. Then we're going to move back and forth. C, 2, 3, 4, C7, 2, 3, 4, C, C7. Okay, now we're going to go faster, just 2 counts each. C, 2, C7. 2, C, 2, C7, 2, C, 2, C7, 2. Okay, now we're going to do it on a 1 count. Switch each one. C, C7, C, C7, C, C7, C, C7, C, C7, C, C7. Okay, how did that feel? Show thumbs real quick. Felt okay? Great. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing with our F. F's even easier. Just play an F, regular F chord. And then to make it a 7th, it's that ring finger that drops in, right? So we're going to play an F, 2, 3, 4, F7, 2, 3, 4, F, F7, 2. Now just a count of 2. F, 2, F7, 2, F, 2, F7. Now each one. F, F7, F, F7, F, F7, F, F7. F7, F7. Okay, how's that feel? Feel pretty good? That's pretty easy? Okay, now we're going to play the G chord. And switching from G to G7 is really difficult, actually. Because every single one of these 3 fingers has to move, right? We have our G, and then we have our G7. None of them stay, unlike the F and the C, which are much easier to play. So let's do this slow. G, 2, 3, 4, G7, 2, 3, 4, G, G7. Now back to G, G7. Okay, now then we worked on our suspended chords. So for our suspended chords, go ahead and play your G for a second. And keep playing that G. Don't change anything, but take that pinky and put it on that 3rd fret right below your ring finger. On the bottom string, your A string. Should sound like that. And then we're going to lift up our pinky, regular G chord. Now keep playing that like that and lift up your middle finger. And play this. I was teaching the middle schoolers at Mirowitz ukulele in the mornings for tefillah, and we were talking about our fingers, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and they had a lot of fun identifying their 2nd finger today in class. So we played our G, put our pinky down for the G sus4, play a G, lift up our middle finger for G sus2, regular G, G sus4 with the pinky, regular G, lift up your middle for the G sus2, regular G, now G sus4, G, G sus2, G sus, G, G sus4. Here's a little trick, by the way, I just thought of, to remember which is G sus4 and G sus2. Here's G, right? Uses 3 fingers. G sus4 uses 4 fingers. G sus2 uses 2 fingers. That has nothing to do with the chord. It is total coincidence here, but if it helps us remember what we're dealing with, great. So we've got our G, G sus4, now G, G sus2. Now G, G sus4, G, G sus2, G, G G sus4, G, G sus2, and G. Okay, how did that feel? Okay, now let's get even more complicated. Let's play our G7. Now we can do the exact same thing with G7. Put that pinky down, also on the 3rd fret, same spot it was in before. Right, here was our regular G. You see that pinky is actually the only one that stays the same. Pinky stays right there. 3rd fret, bottom string, the A string, string closest to your toes. Just as a reminder, good children eat apples. G, C, E, A. G. So this is a G7 sus4, and then just play a regular G7. And now lift up that ring finger, because it's all happening on this bottom string, the apple string, the A string. And this is G7 sus2. Back to the G7 sus4, or G7. So G7 sus4, G7, G7 sus2, G7, G7 sus4, G7, G7 sus2.
It seems like G7 sus4 is the same as G7. No?
So play a G7.
Yeah.
And then take that pinky and put it
On the 3rd fret?
on the 3rd fret, right? Otherwise we're fretting the 2nd fret right there, right? And so the pinky moves it to the 3rd fret. You can actually kind of do that if you'd rather, but that's really uncomfortable to me. I would rather use a pinky to play it. I'm just going to buzz this string for now. Look at this. This is what it should sound like if you're just plucking that bottom string. Okay, how did that feel? Okay, so all of those are our options, and we want to play with those options is the idea. So let's go back to our blues. And we've got our C or our C7. Those are our options there. And we've got our F and our F7. And then we've got our G or our G7, or we can play with our suspensions. And we can play with the suspensions as a 7th chord or as a non-7th chord. Okay, so these are all there as color for us, as flavor. So we're going to go ahead and play the blues. First time through, we're going to play it standard with our 7th chords. And then I'll call out how we're going to do it each time a little differently. We ready? Okay, so go ahead and get into that C7. Let's get into a groove. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Here we go. C7, 2, 3, 4, F7, 2, 3, 4, C7, 2, 3, 4, C7. Now F7, F7. On the 2nd line. Again, F7. Back to the C7. C7. Here comes the G7. We're on the bottom line. G7. F7. F7. Back to C7. Free. And we're going to turn around with G7. Okay, now I just play regular chords. Now C. 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 C, F, F, C, C, now F, F, back to C, C, here comes just a regular G, G, now F, and C. And we're turning around with a G. Okay, this time we're going to move from the regular ones to the 7th chord. So start on a C. Here we go. C. Now F. Now C. comes F7, F7, back to regular C. Now C7. And G, regular G, G. And F. And C. And G. Okay, go to the C and let's just stay on there for a second. Okay. So that time, every time there were two of the same chords in a row, right? Where we had two C's in a row or two F's in a row, the second measure we played is the seventh. Now we're going to divide up each measure, and for half of each measure we'll play the regular, and half we'll play the C. So here we go. Here we go. Now C, C7, F, F7, C, C7, C, C7, F, F7, F, F7, back to C, C7, C, C7. Now G, G, G7, F, F7, C, C7, and just play G7. And let's pause. Okay, as we get faster, it gets harder, right? How did that feel? Let's hear thoughts.
Good.
Yeah?
It's so helpful to have you call it out. I think it's so helpful.
What else? Are there any reactions, thoughts, anythings on this?
It's immensely helpful when you call it out.
Okay, I'll keep calling. So
It's nice to have a pattern to it instead of having to like pick for yourself when you're gonna do it.
So my hope is what'll happen is that you will start getting a sense by doing these various patterns of how they feel and when you might try one or the other. The other piece that goes along with this is probably on some of these, you're not doing it at the same time as me. You're a little behind me on it, right, on switching. And one of the things that I hope you're noticing is that it still sounds great, actually. When you're a little behind me and you're on a different strum, as long as we're on the same chord family, right, C or C7, F or F7, it still sounds great. Is my audio and video matched up for you? Is it synced? Yeah, it's not out of sync. Great. Okay. Okay, let's do this again. Okay, here we go. We're going to do that again, but this time we're going to go from the seventh chord to the regular chord. I don't think it sounds as nice, but we're going to do it anyway. So start on that C7. 2. Here we go now. C7 to C, F7 to F, C7 to C, C7 to C, F7 to F, F7 to F, C7 to C, C7 to C, G7, G7 to G, F7 to F, C7 to C, G7 to G, C7. Okay, my guess is the hardest of these is moving from G7 to G, right? I find that difficult myself. It's just a lot of motion that happens there. Yeah, Sean.
I find moving from G7 to G easier than moving from G to G7 for some reason. And I think it might be because you're moving down.
I 1,000% agree, Sean. Actually, 1,000%. It's easier to move from G7 to G than it is from G to C, G7. At least for me, when I move from G7 to G, it moves there. And when I move from G to G7, my first and my second fingers start locking up with each other. Like, they have to cross over each other. And okay. Any other thoughts on that part right there before we get even more complicated?
I just wanted to throw in that the more often you do it, the easier it is. And Amazing Grace, for example, which I've been working on, it involved exactly that, the G7 and the G back of it. The more you do it, the easier it is.
So let's talk Amazing Grace for a second. So it's worth noting, by the way, that the 12-bar blues has their early origin in Africa. Right, like the entirety of the blues it is a Black American expression originally, and right, of course, that's what Elvis does. Is he's a white guy who played black music and made it okay for white people in the 50s and 60s to listen to it, and changed pop culture because of it. So what we can hear with Amazing Grace, right, written by someone who was enslaving folks, of course, famously, is we can hear the same chord progression. So let's go ahead and play, just very quickly, Amazing Grace without any chords. We're not going to show you the chords, because I want you to see that it's that same 1, 4, 5 in slightly different orders and in slightly different arrangements that we have throughout here. So there we go. Okay, so start on C. It's funny, I'm noticing that I have to paint my trim over here. So it's Amazing Grace. Now we're going to go to the 4, the F chord. How sweet, back to the C, that saved a wretch like a G, the 5 chord. Back to the 1, the C chord. Now the 4 chord, F, F, back to 1, and 1 turns around to 5, the G, back to 1. So do you see, right, it's not exactly the 12-bar blues, but do you see it's pretty close to the 12-bar blues, actually. And we can see the common origin there between these. Okay, any thoughts on that before we go back to our blues? Okay. Okay, here we go.
I love that song. I'm so upset to know that that guy enslaved people. I didn't know that.
Listen to the lyrics, actually. It tells you the story.
Ay, ay, ay.
Yep. It becomes much more problematic, actually, when you start thinking about it, right? It's, I'm redeemed through grace, even though I did these terrible things.
Sorry, can I tell you one thing really fast?
Hold on one second, everyone, sorry.
Danielle Jacob's mom has a scooter. Can you meet her there at pickup at 4:30 at Merowitz and she'll give it to you for me to borrow?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, we were arranging to get a knee scooter. Karen broke her foot last night.
My ankle.
Her ankle, she's telling me. Her tibia for Ray. No, fibula? Fibula, she's saying.
That's the better one to break.
Okay, good. I'm sure she'll be grateful to know that.
Leave it to Karen to choose the right poem.
Exactly. God love him. Mitch Rotman met us at his place at 10 o'clock and put on his, he's a hand guy, so he put on his first ankle cast in a long time, he said. Okay.
Who broke their
Karen.
Karen?
Yeah. Yep, so she's hobbling all around. Okay, so let's go ahead and play the blues now. I mean, we have been playing the blues, but let's put it all together. Actually, let's do one more. We're gonna now do the suspensions. Every time we come to a G, I want you either play a G7 or a G, and we're gonna do. So let's go ahead and just practice that again for a moment. Remember, it's all happening on this bottom string. We put our pinky on the 3rd fret, then we lift up and play the regular G7, and then we lift up our ring finger, and then put the ring finger back. Let's just practice going from the regular G7 to the G sus4. Let's just go back and forth with those. did that feel? Quick show of thumbs. Okay-ish. Okay. Now we're gonna go from the G7 to the G7 sus2, which just lifts up your ring finger, right? Grandma Judy, lift up that pinky. You don't want the pinky right now. And lift up the ring finger to move between them. Okay, now let's do all of them. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, now let's go ahead and play the blues, and when we come around to those G's, we can play with it. Where's the button to show me? There we go. Okay, so now let's start on that C7. Here we go. 2, 3, 4, C7, F7, C7, C7, F7. Back to C7. Here comes our G7, and let's do the suspensions. G7, F7, C7, and now we're going back to the G7, and let's do the suspensions. C7 to C, F7 to F, C7 to C, C7 to C, F7 to F, F7 to F, C7 to C, C7 to C, G7 with the suspensions, F7 to F, C7 to C, G7 with suspensions. Okay, how'd that feel?
Well, that's a
Suspect
little
two on
crazy.
G. On the G, would you show me again the suspension on the S2 on the G7?
So you play a regular G7,
Yes.
and then lift up your ring finger. So it's just your first and your second finger on there. It's very similar to an F chord, Grandma Judy. If you moved your middle finger up one string, it would be an F chord. There was someone else who started to say something. Linda?
You're just going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 during that little phrase. Is that correct? It's
Yep.
just boom,
However you want to fit them in there.
doesn't matter. Okay, great. Love it.
Does not matter. Okay, let's go ahead and play a song and call it a day. So let's play, where are we?
There was a request for Johnny Be Good from Linda.
Oh, we could do Johnny Be Good again. Absolutely.
I got your back, Linda.
And we'll do it like we did last week, where we'll do it with the lyrics, but not with the chords. Okay. And here we're gonna, the same chords, C's, F's, and G's. And we can either play the regular or the 7. So I'm gonna start with the 7. Deep down Louisiana, close to New Orleans, on C7. Way back up in the woods among the evergreens. Now F or F7. There stood a log cabin made of earth and wood, back to C7, where lived a country boy named Johnny B. Good. Here comes our 5 chord, our G7, who never ever learned to read or write so well. C7. He could play that guitar just like a ring in a bell. I said C7. Go, Johnny, go, go. Go, Johnny, go. F7. Go, Johnny, go. Back to C7. Go, Johnny, go. G7. And F. Johnny, be good. And turn it around with a G7. He used to C7 his guitar in a gunny sack. Go sit beneath the train by the railroad track. F7. Oh, the engineers would see him sitting in the shade. C7. Strumming with the rhythm at the driver's maid. G7. The people passing by, they would stop and say, C7. Oh my, what that little country boy could play. I said C7. Go, Johnny, go, go. Go, Johnny, go. F7. Go, Johnny, go. C7. Go, Johnny, go. G7. Now F. Johnny, be good. C7. His mother told him, someday you will be a man, and you'll be the leader of a big old band. F7. Many people coming from miles around. C7. To hear you play your music when the sun goes down. G7. Maybe someday your name will be in lights. C7. Saying, Johnny, be good tonight. Go, 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 go. Go, Johnny, go, go. Go, Johnny, go. F7. Go, Johnny, go. C7. Go, Johnny, go. G7. And F. Johnny, be good. Okay, everyone.
Fun.
Oh, so much fun. So much fun. We'll see y'all next week.